Parsha. It's Parshas Devarim, which always is read the week before Tisha B'Av. The few days before Tisha B'Av, we always read this Parsha, and there are many explanations why it always comes out just before Tisha B'Av, which is the saddest day of the Jewish calendar. The simple explanation is always given that Devarim, this week's Parsha, is translated as words, and we know that words were the reason behind the destruction of the temple, because people badmouthed each other and they spoke badly, lashon hara, and because of words it was destroyed, and because of words we will come back to the temple when we start acting nicely and speaking nicely to each other. But here's another take. In the middle of the Parsha, Moshe, our leader, takes the entire Torah and writes it down 70 times. He translates it to every language. And in 70 languages he writes over the entire Torah. Now here's the question, why did he do it? The Jews at that time only knew Hebrew. They only spoke Hebrew. Why translate it in all languages possible? You see, there's a prediction in the Torah. There are a few predictions. What will happen in exile, and they're seemingly contradictory. The Torah promises that the Jews will go to exile and we will be scattered amongst all the nations. And then it says we will stay small in number. And then it also says we will always be around. Now that sounds like a contradiction. If Hashem wants to say that the Jewish people will always be around, why say that they will be scattered amongst all the nations and stay small in number? It's almost impossible. But guess what? It happened. Great empires from the past been around and they're gone now. The Jewish people always stayed small in number. We were persecuted, exiled, and tortured, spread out through all the corners of the world, and we're still around. How come? Because the Torah adds another prediction. The Torah says that Jewish people will always keep to the Torah. There will always be a small amount of Jews that will keep the Torah and listen to Hashem. And that's the reason we are still around. Moshe gives over the Torah before he passes away, before he dies in this week's Parsha, and he says, I want you to know something, my Jewish brothers. You will go into exile, and you will need this book throughout the exile because you will be scattered amongst all the nations. It's a sad prediction, but it's also a positive thing. Moshe is telling him, you know what's going to keep you in exile? You know what will keep the Jewish nation together and will always be around? If you follow the book, if you listen to the Torah. We keep the Torah, we'll always stay around. And that's why before Tisha B'Av, we're in exile, we read this Parsha to say that yes, we're all over the world, we're scattered all over, all four corners of the earth. But Moshe wrote the Torah in every language to know that we could live as a Jew no matter where you are. To the best of your ability, try and keep the Torah. That's what will keep you a Jew in exile, and that's what's going to bring us back, hopefully very soon. Let us all pray and hope that this should be the last week in exile, and next week we'll all be together as one large Jewish family in Jerusalem with the Beis HaMikdash. Thank you and good Shabbos.